Welcome back. Well, today we are just in our little quiet place, our paradise place. This is where I go. This is where I go before I do our EXJW recovery program. That's what we do every Saturday at 1 o'clock. I was a little late today, 1:07, but today no one showed up. So I'm going to do the program on video. So everyone has lives, so you know how it is. Sometimes you can make it, sometimes you can't. So we'll post a link to this recovery group. It's a non-recorded recovery group. You just link in like StreamYard, and it's not live. There's no recordings. It's just like this. We usually have some nature music running when we start it. At 1 o'clock every Saturday we do this, and it goes for an hour and a half, whatever you guys want, but we're flexible. So lots of times when I'm in my my little place here, I throw on some music, and that gets you in the mood. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to go over to the studio now if you're all relaxed, and then we're going to unrelax you. Got to get you relaxed, then we unrelax you. So here we go. Nice music there. So a lot of you were maybe asking on the comments what this thumbnail means. Forget YoU Watchtower is what this means. Here. I'll just pull it up bigger so you can see it. It's where is it here? Here's what it looks like. So forget YoU Watchtower. Forget YoU Watchtower. That's so important in healing, is we have to forget the Watchtower. We have to forget about it. And to forget about it, because it's always in our minds. We were indoctrinated. We were in a cult. So every day they had a day's text, and it told you that Satan was out there. Satan's wicked. The whole world's wicked. And only within the confinements of the governing body's direction can you find safety. Telltale sign of a cult? Because that's not what the Bible says. So it takes a lot of work to forget about the Watchtower, and what EXJW Diaries put out is a workbook, and he put that out. I'll put a link to that also in the description below, so you can get this workbook. It's free, and you can go onto their site and download yourself a copy. Now, I'm going to pull up the workbook here. This is it. We're on the emotional journey timeline, so we're part ways into this. We're right about here: mental conditioning, understanding trauma, grief and loss. That's where we're at. We're under grief and loss. So this is a very important part of grief and loss. In order to forget about Watchtower, you have to do a timeline. So you have to take everything out of your head and put it on a timeline. That's so important. It's the first step. It's one of the first steps here. And if we can make a timeline of our journey through the Watchtower, all the things that happened, and take as much paper as you want and start writing. I wrote mine in a story form. That's how I did my timeline. I put it into a book. But it starts with this. I had to start with a line, and I started detailing all the events because I had forgotten a lot of stuff. And then as we pull this stuff out, we start remembering, and there's more stuff. And I even found, once I wrote that book and did all of this, later I pulled out more stuff, and it just keeps coming out, and it takes a lot of work. So this is what we're doing. We're doing this together. It's nice to do this with other XJWs because they've experienced the same thing as we've experienced. So we're all working together on this, kind of from the same angle. So the emotional timeline, journey timeline is important. I actually copied and pasted a song in mine, Hotel California. And I felt getting into the Watchtower was like getting into Hotel California. Remember that song? You get into Hotel California, but you can never leave. You can't get off. And that's the thing with the Watchtower. You can't get off. It's like a big cruise ship. You board that cruise ship, and once you're in the ocean, you can't get off. If you want to get off, you're jumping into the water, shark-infested water, whatever. Sometimes there's a raft. There's a raft, the cruise ship's going along in the ocean, and there's a lifeboat. It's EXJW's lifeboat. They're all around the JW cruise ship, all these lifeboats. Tons of EXJWs now. So they've all got themselves a lifeboat. They're off. They have platforms. They're helping. You can jump off onto their platform, and they'll help you. That's what's happening. It's crazy. But this is the journey that we're on right now. We're on this together, this journey, this timeline. It's interesting. I find it fascinating to be living in this time that we're speaking about, where a Watchtower is getting its bricks knocked out. Left and right, their bricks are coming down. That tower is falling, and we can see it. So that helps us out when we see all of these things happening as an XJW. It kind of gives us a sense of justice. That, yeah, finally, God is stepping in through the governments or however it's going on. We don't know. It doesn't matter. But finally, there's a bit of relief. We see that happening. We see that happening simply, we know the pressure's working because they're allowing beards now. No more counting time. You remember, they used to shun you. If you walked into the Kingdom Hall with this kind of growth, you were shunned. No privileges. This was last year. This is just a few months ago. You walk into the Kingdom Hall with a beard, you're shunned, you're talked to in the back, you're disciplined. There's nothing in the Bible that says it. And then here a month later, they say, yeah, beards are allowed. There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't have a beard. This is the governing body themselves saying this. Telltale sign that the flock is following men. What was wrong with beards way at the beginning? You see, Rutherford was clean-shaven. Rutherford was the original cult leader. He usurped Russell's business, Russell's religious business, took it over, counseled the Russellites out, and implemented his new clean-shaven soldiers. So that's what we see happening. That's what I was in, 30 years of it. It takes a toll on your mind. And you become a robot, kind of. You just go in and come out and go out in service and go to work. And it's just a vicious routine. You become robotic. No sense of identity. It's all Watchtower. Okay, the next portion here is the art of release. Art therapy is good. Use this page to draw a picture that expresses the feelings of release and letting go. Don't worry about being a perfect artist. Simply draw the way you feel. So that's kind of what I did. I did some drawing. You'll see it. I did that on my thumbnail. And this is it. This is it. Forget Watchtower, right? Forget you. We're going to forget Watchtower. And I'm just going to abbreviate it because you guys seen it on my thumbnail. Okay. So there we go. Forget you, Watchtower. There's my art release today. We're going to forget Watchtower. And how do you forget Watchtower? Well, we have to dig all that Watchtower stuff out and fix our minds. And that's what this is all about. Okay, let's move forward. There's lots of art there you can do, lots of pictures. So now we're going to get into self-identity and authenticity. In high control groups like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the authentic expression of oneself is often stifled due to the judgmental environment and the fear of being perceived as bad association. This restrictive atmosphere requires members to constantly tread carefully, limiting the genuine expression of their thoughts and emotions. Isn't that true? Unlike the more typical experience of close friendships outside of Jehovah's Witnesses environment, where authenticity is encouraged and embraced within the organization, even your closest friends may be the ones assigned by the elders to keep an eye on you. And isn't that the case? They turn people against people within the organization, and for all of us that have been in there, we know that's how it works. Very high control. Okay, so what's next? True authenticity in this context is the sincere and honest expression of who you are, encompassing your values, your beliefs, your emotions, without pretense, without conformity to the Watchtower's expectations. So we have to develop a self-identity, and this involves recognizing or understanding our unique characteristics, our own values and beliefs, and define our own individuality. So we kind of have to start over. We have to define who we are. Do we believe in the Bible still? That would be a big one. That was a big one for me. You know, when you get lied to and you find all this deceit and you find that they've added all these things into the Bible, once you start researching, you realize that they went to a lot of work to build their narrative in the Bible. They basically built a Book of Mormon. They built another Bible. The Book of Jehovah's Witnesses is what this is. So what I did is I just went back to the old Bible. I just went to the Bible tool. I looked at all kinds of Bibles. And every day I'm still finding out how Watchtower changed their Bible in all kinds of little things. Just like the word congregation. You know, in the real Bible, it says the word church. Watchtower is afraid of the word church. It says it in every other Bible out there, going right back to the time of whenever these Bibles were written. But they changed it to congregation. It changes it. See, church to me is still a group of people, but it also represents this church, this synagogue, this church. It's a group of people. That's what church means, to congregate. But they still changed it. Why? Because they didn't want to look like the other churches. They've done that all along. They've changed so many things. You know, we looked in our last video at Luke 23, I think 23 and 43, where they changed that comma, right? So Jesus is dying. He's on the stake. There's an evildoer beside him. And Jesus says, hey, today you're going to be with me in paradise. Jesus knew that. You know, like 3 hours. He died in 6 hours on the stake. Legs weren't broken. The other guys were living still. So Jesus died first. He died without getting his legs broken. And they pulled him off. Joseph Aramaeus, I think was the guy's name. He pulled him off, put him in that tomb that he had for Jesus. He was very rich. So Joseph pulled him into that tomb. The other guy was still living. Jesus died, went to heaven, and prepared a place for the evildoer. So that day when the evildoer died, there was a place for him in heaven. And he called it paradise. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses changed that. Rutherford changed it. He put the comma. He changed the whole narrative. Changed the whole Bible right there with one comma. One comma. Because how he changed it, the Bible says today, Jesus says, today you'll be with me in paradise. I tell you today you will be with me in paradise, right? That's what Jesus said. And JW.org changed it. Let's look at how they changed it. Okay, we got the Jehovah's Witness Bible pulled up here. And it says in Luke 23 and 43, and he said to him, truly I tell you today, you will be with me in paradise. So you see, that just says that Jesus is saying to the guy today, I tell you today, you'll be with me in paradise. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses believe paradise hasn't happened yet. That guy is sleeping in the grave. He's not resurrected yet. He's dead. Death is nothing. It's gone. Where if you look at another Bible, and all the other Bibles, by the way, not just another Bible, all the other Bibles says this. And he said to him, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. You see, that makes more sense. Jesus is talking to the guy. And he says, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. That's what all the Bibles say. Jehovah's Witnesses say that They don't think that's the way it should read. They don't think they know that's what it says in all the other Bibles, but they don't think it was written right. They think that all the other religions wrote it for their narrative. That's what they think. You see, so they changed it and put a comma in there because they want to back up the 1914 doctrine. So Jesus, they say, he did not take power that day. You see, according to this scripture, Jesus took power that day. So that throws the whole 1914 theory, throws it out. It's gone. Can't use it. It's all built on Old Testament stuff anyways. Trees, Nebuchadnezzar knocking down trees and stuff. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous calculation. They know it is. Didn't work. Nothing happened at 1914. So then they made it invisible, and all of us dumb, uneducated, afraid to research sheeples, followed them blindly and believed them that what their narrative was true, that Jesus was invisible. He's invisible. He's around us. So why, if he's there visibly, how come we have so many problems? You see, the whole narrative of the Jehovah's Witness religion is out the door with this one comma. You change this one comma, it changes everything. So you decide. This is a religion that butchered the Bible to fit their narrative. Okay, I found it so many times, and that's just one spot, folks. One spot. What about the 237 times they inserted Jehovah into the New Testament? Never was there. Never was there. And who gives them the authority to do this? I always go back to this here. I go back to, where is it? Right here.
And also, the governing body is neither inspired nor infallible, and so it can err in doctrinal matters or in organizational direction. Well, knowing this, then, we are not embarrassed about adjustments that are made, nor is an apology needed for not getting it exactly right previously. We understand this is how Jehovah operates. He reveals matters gradually when it is needed.
Okay, so Jehovah might run that way, but Jesus doesn't. You see, we're Christians, right? We're not Jehovians. I was a Jehovian witness. I'm a Jesus witness, a Christian. That's what Christians are. We follow Jesus. We follow what he said in the New Testament. He never ever used the word Jehovah once. Never ever used it once. You see, if I was so proud of my father, I would be using his name. I would say, yeah, my father, he's so-and-so. But Jesus never once made reference to Jehovah. In fact, in John 8:44, he called the Jews God, their God. He called them the devil. He said, your father is the devil. Well, the Jews, in my opinion, they were worshiping Yahweh. Sacrificing, charging money for these animals in the temple. They had a whole business going on there, and they have for years. It's control over people. And they used Jehovah to do that. Jesus came along and said, enough is enough. And he set the example. So I think we had it all, well, I know I had it all wrong as following a Jehovah's Witness religion. All wrong. I didn't know. I was young. Got sucked in. So we have to find our true authenticity, and in this context, it's sincere and honest expressions of who you are, encompassing your values, your beliefs, your emotions, without pretense or conformity to external expectations. So you got to figure out who you are outside of the Watchtower. Throw away all the doctrine, all this stuff about living forever on earth. It's all made up. It's all a fictional story. They used pieces here, pieces there. They put a jigsaw puzzle together, and they think that's the truth. It's not. Jesus never said his kingdom. He never said anything about building this Watchtower kingdom on earth. Nothing. Nothing. You see, it's about us individually. Spirituality has nothing to do with a religion. A religion is a vehicle. It's a vehicle that can help you to get to know God, get you through the basics, help you to understand the Bible, who the characters are. But then you have to develop spirituality within you. And we do that. We do that automatically. And there's stages of our consciousness as we grow in life as to how we're going to process spirituality. And it'll grow on us. So Watchtower doesn't promote it that way at all. They promote that it's through them. That spirituality is by following 9 men in New York. To the T. And if you don't follow them to the T according to that elder's book, you're out. You're toast. That's what they feel spirituality is. But you and I know that that's a cult. That's following men. It's not following the Bible. It's not about our own individuality and our spirituality. Nothing to do with it. It's about Watchtower. It's about their narrative. It's about making them look good. And it's about getting out as their soldier, as their salespeople for free, pumping out their stuff, handing out their business cards to establish their business so they can get more donations and build their empire on earth. That's what they're doing, just like every other religion is doing today. They're building their empires off the backs of hardworking people like you and me. And they lie to us. They tell us all kinds of stuff because we don't know the Bible and they do. Well, guess what, folks? After a while, we get pretty familiar with the book. And we start, when you get out of the JW, you start researching and looking around and you really get familiar with the Bible because you realize that you've been lied to. So you want to see how many times you've been lied to. Where have I been lied to? So that's why we do the research as XJWs. We have to undo all of the inculcation, all of the brainwashing. So this section of the book aims to assist you in discovering the most authentic version of yourself while also identifying the aspects of your personality that were influenced by your time as a JW. And regardless of who you were within the Jehovah's Witnesses, you now have the opportunity to craft an identity that aligns with your true core. That's what we can do now. And it's amazing. You get out of that religion, you free your mind, and your mind, don't be surprised if your mind just takes off. Allow it to. Follow it. Go on the journey. It's a good journey. Now here's the next portion. I'm going to throw this back up. Authenticity. Now I had that off the screen here. We were just finishing up here. Yeah. So we're here on authenticity. What does it mean to be your true self without external influences? And how would it feel to embody this authenticity in your daily life? So what does it mean to be your true self without external influences? And how would it feel to embody this in your daily life? So, so for me, what is it for my true self without all these Watchtower influences? It's different. My mind is not racing to get up. Oh, I got to get everything done. I got to do this because I got to get out in field service. You see, that's gone. So now I can slow down. I can start to be real. I can start to be present. I can slow down. I can get up and I can go about my daily activities without having all of this stuff spinning in the background. I got to get out in service. I have to get to the meeting. Oh, I got to prepare for the meeting. I got to comment at the meeting. I have to look righteous. I got to look like, because that's conformity. That's what the group does. The Jehovah's Witness group does that. It's conformity. And you see, we have on this program run other studies, other people's studies, psychologists. And it's interesting. If you get one person in a waiting room doing a certain thing, and you get other people coming in, sitting there, they watch that first person, and then they start all doing the same thing. All the other people that come into the waiting room, they've done studies. People follow people. So being authentic, we have to get out of the group and follow ourselves, figure out who we are. It's a big step. Milestones in the organization. Reflect on key moments in your life as a witness, such as accepting a study, becoming an unbaptized publisher, giving your first talk, and getting baptized. How did these milestones impact the way you interacted with others? And were there aspects of yourself that you felt the need to turn down or reject as you progressed in the religion? So there's a lot there. Milestones in the organization. Reflect on key moments when you were a Jehovah's Witness. Maybe getting the study. That's the first thing, accepting the study. The second, becoming an unbaptized publisher. Remember that? And what about giving your first talk? Even if you're a sister, you get up with another sister, you give your first public talk. You probably remember that. I remember mine. In fact, I use that first talk over and over again. I think it was divine. 1 Corinthians 13. It was a whole section on love. Beautiful chapter. That was my first talk. getting baptized. I remember getting baptized in a horse trough. That was back in the 80s. They didn't have these pools at assembly halls and stuff. We went to a rented facility. It was an arena. It was a big skating arena. It was in central Alberta. And they had a big horse trough, those big, long horse troughs. And it was full of water, warm water. You'd get in and they'd baptize you one at a time in this horse trough. I was baptized. There was 13 of us that day. I remember that. And how did these milestones impact the way you interacted with others? Well, once I was baptized, you feel really good. You feel like you're part of the group. It's like being part of something. So you get baptized. Everyone shoots. It's like a badge of honor. You know, if you've ever been probably you haven't as a JW or XJW, but Boy Scouts, Brownies, you know those things, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, they get little badges. You know, little badges of honor as they progress. Well, that's what it's like in the Jehovah's Witness. It's invisible badges of honor. And baptized. Yeah, so-and-so got baptized. He's a brother. You know, so now you're a brother. You've got to be careful, because I got stuck where I got into a service arrangement. It was just all sisters, and they made me conduct it. I was just baptized. I was scared out of my tree. I wasn't prepared, but they think you're baptized. You're baptized brothers, so the sisters can't do it. They're way more capable than this newly baptized brother who's green behind the ears. I didn't know anything. But they think because you're baptized, that badge of honor, you're a brother, you're higher up. And that's what it's like in this religion. The women are secondary. They're not treated the same as the brothers. It's wrong. Other religions don't do that. Now, were there aspects of yourself that you felt the need to turn down or reject as you progressed in the religion? Aspects of myself? Absolutely. I had trouble with work. I loved work, and in my business, I was a creator. I was an inventor. I invented some stuff, and I patented it. I built the prototype, cost lots of money, patented and sold it, marketed it all over the world. And the company that I was working with, they flew me out to Israel free twice. It was part of their technology. They bought the patent. And so then we were manufacturing for them for about 2 years. I loved it. And I could have traveled all over the world, but I had to hold myself back. So in my head, I said, Vern, all of this money is about going into the preaching work. You got to take all the money you're making and sink it all into the Watchtower, because Jehovah gave it to you. Do you see what we do in our minds when we get brainwashed? That's what I did. And I felt that I was being blessed by Jehovah, which it was really my own ingenuity, my own ability to do this. My dad was a little bit of an inventor too. He built stuff. So I learned this from my dad. I didn't learn this from the Watchtower. They had no right to the residuals from what I was doing. That was my own individuality. But yet they push in on you. You know, brothers would say, well, what are you doing? Why? Well, it's all for the Watchtower. So eventually I did. It was all for the Watchtower. I financed with this money, and maybe it was God helping, I don't know. But we went up north, and it was expensive, $3,000 a plane trip. I flew lots of people up there. I had no problems. Made the money. It was God's money. I spent it on the Watchtower. I took big chunks of money, and I put big industrial fire alarm systems into their assembly halls and replaced other ones, where other brothers wanted a pile of money. We did it at cost, complete cost. We showed the brothers, this is what this stuff costs. The other brothers had inflated it by double or triple. You know, so they take a $10,000 job and they make it a $30,000 job. And that's kind of how the business goes. But, you know, I felt that we should give to Jehovah. We shouldn't be making money off Jehovah. So that's what I did. And we went to Antigua, went overseas, started doing Bethels and Dominican Republic. And we did that. And the brothers within the congregation, the elders, were jealous. They were completely jealous because God was blessing me, or because I was able to do this. I don't know. I lost my individuality in this organization. I could have done a lot more, could have done it differently, but you lose it, and you end up giving everything to the organization. Most brothers would not do what I did because they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be window cleaners and janitors. And they tried to push me into that, but by the time I was already in electronics and in the fire alarm business. So if you're a doctor or a lawyer and you're already in that business and you become a JW, they're going to use your talents. They're just going to use you and throw you out when they're done with you. And that's what they did with me. They do that with everyone that has any kind of talents in this organization. They'll use them. If you don't marry yourself to this organization, they'll take what they can get out of you and then they'll kick you out in your ass. And that's what happens. So that makes it tough for us on the outside. We have this Watchtower shit rolling around in our head and we can't get it out. So that's why this fair...
And also, the governing body is neither inspired nor infallible.
That's why this is so important. We have to tell the Watchtower what we think of them. And that's what we think of the Watchtower. Forget you, Watchtower. Forget you. Forget you. And that's where we're at on this. Forget the Watchtower. Move forward. And that will help us to heal. Okay, well, let's come back into this. We go through the milestones, how we got all the brownie badges in the organization. You become a pioneer. It's another brownie badge. You become a ministerial servant, you become an elder. There's lots of room for brothers to grow, very little room for sisters. That's what I found. Now, concepts of the new personality. Reflect on the Watchtower's concept of the new personality. What does that term mean? Well, good question. It was a big thing for everyone. Put on the new personality. You put on the new personality. Basically, you're putting on the Watchtower. You're dressing yourself with Watchtower magazines. If you took all the magazines and sewed them together into clothing, that's what you're wearing. You're wearing Watchtower magazines. And today they don't have magazines. You go under their website, all the magazines that we used to have are built into articles. Those articles change every 3 days on the website. It's like a continual flow of Watchtower magazines. It's the same as what they were doing with print. Now they're turning it into movie production. It's the same indoctrination. So they call it a new personality. It's a Watchtower clothing. That's what it means to me. They're wearing Watchtower clothing. How does the concept of new personality shape your self-identity within the Jehovah's Witnesses? Well, when you have this new personality within the congregation, it does help people. You get people that come into the organization, maybe they were on drugs or alcoholics or whatever. Some people have made changes. But I'm not going to give the credit to the religion because you can go to AA, make the same change, you get in with a group, and it's the same thing. And they don't push you to die over a blood transfusion or any of those things within AA if you're an alcoholic. So I agree that some of these religions have helped people, but then they indoctrinate people and then they use people. They don't really help people. People lose their self-identity and they put on the personality of the Watchtower, the personality of the Mormon Church. That's the new personality. Jehovah here equals Watchtower. To me, it does not equal anything else. It doesn't equal God. It's Watchtower's name. Now, we move forward, passionate interests and activities. This is our last one. List your 5 most passionate interests, hobbies, and activities. We're just going to read them off. That'll be for next week. And how do these elements contribute to your authentic self and your overall happiness? So that's what we're going to talk about. Then we'll get into forced persona. Persona refers to the social mask or facade that individuals present in the world. So that's what we're going to cover next week, folks. Now, that's it for this week. So that's our YoU Watchtower. Forget you, Watchtower. Okay, so if you missed that, here it is. I'm going to get it up on the screen in big. Forget you, Watchtower. So that's what this is about. EXJW recovery. Forget about the Watchtower. Start thinking about yourself and start moving on. And that's what EXJW recovery helps you to do. Well, thanks again, folks, and thanks for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.